What are rich people problems like? My rich friend has no kids, so he's trying to figure out how to spend all his money before he dies so it doesn't go to some cousins he doesn't like. If I just mention something I like, he'll buy it for me immediately. It's ridiculous. Your friend kind of sounds like Bilbo. Figuring out how to give your kids everything they want without turning them into spoiled brats who are messed up for life. Warren Buffett said it best, leave the children enough so that they can do anything, but not enough that they can do nothing. I used to work in fine art shipping and rich people constantly call and ask if we could remind them which house we shipped their expensive artwork to. They would have trouble remembering. And just to verify, that is not my billing address either. Correct? My boss is a pretty significantly wealthy guy. And his family in general is very wealthy, and looking in from the outside when he's in his venue drinking with people, there's definitely a problem of people taking advantage of being your friend for freebies and privilege over your staff. Cannot imagine going through life with that many fake people trying to get something. I have this problem but from the opposite role. My friend is, I would not say rich, much better off than me. We like a lot of the same shit, so he's always asking me to go places with him. He'll ask me to go to music festivals with him and I'll just say nah, I can't afford the tickets, and he'll instantly respond with dude I got you man, and then I feel bad accepting because I feel like I'm taking advantage of him. Sometimes I wish he'd just take the hint, lol. He's like my best friend and I'm the godfather of his son, but it's tough not feeling that way. BTW, I am in no way complaining or taking him for granted or anything like that. All your poor relatives move close to you and start asking you for things and money. I have a very wealthy friend, and seeing this firsthand blew my mind. I thought the moochers would be subtle or ask for small things or maybe just hang around in hopes of getting some scraps. Jackal style. Oh, no. Everyone from siblings down to the ex-boyfriend of a second cousin will just straight up demand that he buy them a vacation home or pay for their $80,000 around the world cruise, both real examples. And when he inevitably says no, they go scorched earth policy on social media and talk about how selfish he is and how he disowns his own family for money. And then a month later they are back begging on the doorstep. It's exhausting. And I'm just watching from the outside. Lifestyle creep. The more money they earn, the more they spend. And it never feels like they're truly rich. On a similar note, if you have a stressful and demanding job that pays a lot, it's exceedingly hard to walk away for mental health. I have friends who quit their jobs every 6-9 months because they don't like the hours or their boss. But I have other friends that grind 75-hour weeks because they can't let go of $300,000 per year. Proper allocation of investments, assets and tax planning are actually things you need to think about a lot, or hire someone else to think about, which in itself is something to think about. Along these lines, accidentally having 6 or 7 figures in your checking account because you haven't been paying close attention lately and missing out on interest or investment gains. Feeling like you can't talk about certain things with people who don't make as much. I'm not rich, but I make more than some friends. There have been times when I'll tell them about something and I get a sarcastic must be nice reception. Mister, I wear 2 socks a day over here. Wi-Fi doesn't reach across the entire house. I'm poor. Live in a tiny apartment. Can be 5 feet away from my router. And still have this problem. Wi-Fi interference sucks. The other day, a client of my dad's wrote a $3,000 check for my medical bills. I've been sick for a while and it came up in some casual conversation. The client recommended a place for medical testing. We went. Got a consultation. But the price was too high to justify without insurance coverage. The client calls the place. Sees we haven't done the tests yet and he writes my dad a check for the full amount. $3,000 doesn't sound like a lot compared to some of these stories. But this may change the course of my life. His justification: I have more money than I can ever spend. I have a rich friend who just offered to cover all of my bills to get treatment for my chronic illness. It's nothing to him. But it will literally save my life. It's insane. Pablo Escobar's problem with rats eating his stacks of money faster than he could deposit them would be a good poster child for this. Deleted. That's a sad story. Hope you're doing well. From my experience of working a day with a banana, just not being able to live a normal life. Having a beer in an ordinary bar. Having normal conversations not revolved about work. having time for a simple walk and so on. Trust. Is anyone doing things because they actually care for you or because of your money? It is a real problem for rich guys I know looking for marriage. Sex is one thing. Actually have someone love you is another. My husband has a rich acquaintance who was just agonizing about buying a $5 million yacht, which will probably be used a handful of times a year. So he decided to buy only a $3 million yacht instead. I can't wrap my mind around it. I've seen cases where your private life eventually becomes a full-time job for someone else. You often have people or a team who do things like arrange repairs to your home, line manage your household cleaners and gardeners, get your shopping, book your holidays, sort your car, look after your PR if you do something dumb and the media come knocking, even book music lessons for your kids. You are doing nothing for yourself except accruing wealth. You will also have accountants, lawyers, and whatnot at your beck and call. The primary function of the accountant and the lawyer is to let you fiddle your taxes and pay as little as possible. And you've gotta be able to trust them all. Having your feelings mental health dismissed because you have money. Everyone seems to think that being able to afford therapy or medication means that you'll automatically be cured. But it doesn't work like that. My friend grew up in a rich family, but was abused her entire childhood and ended up dying at age 20 from anorexia. Her parents paid for the best therapists and treatment teams. But a lot of mental illnesses just have a low success rate for recovery. Not rich. But I have a family member who earns low seven figures annually. Biggest problem they've struggled with is that our whole family comes from being poor and they're the one that made it. They've had to cut off entire parts of the family, including siblings and parents, because everyone just wants stuff from them. One of their parents demanded they buy them a home because you owe me for raising you. It's even worse from their siblings. They have keep their social media feed on a week-long delay so if they travel anywhere that other family members are they won't hit them up with a new scheme or asking for a loan. It's terrible to watch. When my great-grandmother died, they found out she owned 2 vacant lots in the Bay Area that were now worth over $2 million. It's been 7 years and all these distant relatives are still suing each other over every penny of that money. My great-grandmother was a manipulative psychopath and intentionally made her will as vague as possible, and also changed it about once every 3 months for the last 2 decades of her life. If they know you are rich they expect you to pay more than what is the price. I once worked at a resort and their everything included the service charge so tips weren't expected, but when a rich couple known in the city arrived all the staff was bitching about how they never tipped, even though no one at the resort does. I'd add to this that everyone expects you to pay for everything. My wife and I aren't really rich, just under 7 figures in assets, but we are moderately well off. And the thing we started to realize as we started to have more money, suddenly all the people who we thought were friends started to expect us to give them money whenever they needed it. If we didn't give them money or if we loaned it to them and asked for it to be paid back, we were suddenly assholes who valued money more than friendship. I had the person I considered my best friend cut ties with me because I wouldn't buy a house for him and his girlfriend. Nobody has sympathy for your problems. There are not enough available convenient time slots for violin lessons for my 3-year-old. Somebody teach this kid a lesson. My mother married a wealthy man with some very wealthy friends. One friend in particular comes from a large old money family that over the years had become very suspicious of outsiders trying to marry in for $. Their solution was to marry within the family, lots of cousins marrying each other, and so they began having issues with inbreeding and children being born mentally disabled because of it. This friend told me the family even founded a hospital center to treat and house these family members who were, in his words, what the family called affected. Can't you just date someone before admitting you have a ton of money? When you form friendships after you've got money, you often question if the friendships would survive a loss in wealth. Having to tune 2 Steinway concert grand pianos, worth $195,000 each, in the spacious living room every year, even though no one in the house knows how to play them. Note, they have the pianos tuned at least once per year to keep them in shape. Once or twice per year they hire a professional pianist to play them for social events. Okay. I'm a first-generation wealthy individual, NW north of 20M+. Came to the US some 20+ years ago as an immigrant on work visa. Made good money in job, stocks, consulting, real estate, etc. The problems I have are mostly stemming from the financial insecurities I grew up with. I have passive income sources that get me some 30k plus every month on top of a 350k plus a year job, yet I wear $14 Costco jeans and t-shirts and live a very frugal life. I have the constant fear of losing everything and feeling the sense of poverty to save money, knowing very well that there isn't a way for me to outlive my money at the pace I spend. I know this isn't the kind of rich person problems you are looking for. I'm not even sure if I should respond since I don't feel like a rich person myself. My friend and I. Both early 30s. Both immigrants. Both earning very nice amounts of money. Both worth in the low millions right now. Call this our immigrant brain. It's like once you've tasted poverty and struggle, it's hard to spend money you earn because what if it all vanishes tomorrow again and you have to survive on your savings? Having the awkwardness of going out with family friends or partying and paying. Like I'm not trying to flex. Just doing the right thing. When you go out with me, I pay. It's nothing and I just want to hang out with you. Do you make it obvious or is it like you're all leaving and they realize they haven't paid? Or is it expected at this point? I imagine that they often worry if people fake appreciating them for their money. Truth. My old roommate had bad money but hid it from everyone. He said they either treated him differently or tried to take advantage. I gave swim lessons to a woman who complained that the dishwasher on her yacht was broken. As a 80s kid, I was taught having a sufficient supply of grey pumpkin was quite the necessity. Everybody has issues. Being rich may make life more comfortable as far as possessions go, but look at how many are completely batshit crazy or have substance or mental health problems. I've known a few very wealthy people and none of them had fabulous lives like we are led to believe. They just have more stuff and fancier houses to be miserable in while being expected to act as if they are on top of the world. Removed. Another problem is that if you had a good education at a prestigious school then you're told that you have a lot of doors open to you. Which sounds great but also produces a lot of anxiety since you feel that you're not taking full advantage of this privilege and that the doors may close soon once work experience becomes more relevant than the college you went to. Also you're told that contacts will help open doors, but if you're an introvert you feel like you're not taking advantage of this. In summary, 1. Guilt for having more privileges than others and having done nothing to deserve them, and 2. Anxiety for not taking advantage of privileges and therefore feeling like you deserve them even less. The owner of the restaurant I used to work at was once caught complaining about only making $90k that month and not a full 6 figures. The restaurant only making $90k or him pocketing only $90k? I'm not super rich. But I guess by many people's standards where I live we appear to be. Nice house. Car etc. We're comfortable. Now I understand why money doesn't buy happiness. Happiness comes from the satisfaction of the journey. For example, if you save and save for something. Once you have enough to purchase it, you are so happy. But if you have the money sitting there and just buy it because you want it, there isn't the same level of satisfaction. Also, mental health isn't taken as seriously by friends and peers. If you have the lifestyle that people think would make them happy, then how could you possibly be suffering from depression bipolar? How ungrateful of you. Drugs. Money plus time plus boredom equals drugs to pass the time. Then it's a slippery slope. Cocaine at God's way of telling you you've got too much money. Robin Williams. Richest people I know are my aunt and uncle. They'll never admit it. But they both have drinking problems. Not a rich family by any stretch. But we are always having big discussion where in the world to spend our vacations. Fresno is nice this time of year. I'm not rich. Just middle class. But as my wealth has grown, my time with my family has diminished. I am currently looking for another job. And will even take a pay cut. To spend more time with my kids and my hobbies. They're more rewarding than the money could ever be. When I was in rehab, we were in an outside area doing a group session. When we were interrupted by a helicopter landing in the parking lot. The guy ended up being in my primary group as well. And he told me that he had to take his helicopter from Philly, as it had been a last-minute decision to check himself in. And the airport local to the rehab was too small for his private plane to land there. So, I'd have to say, your town's airport is too small for my plane. Is a problem I doubt I'll ever have. Not knowing who is truly your friend. Taxes and lawsuits. If your parents started at the bottom and worked their way to the top to give you a better life, you are not allowed to be unlucky or have problems. Because you are a lot luckier than anyone else. Long story short, a family friend tried to buy a house, something like 5 mil. Signed the papers and everything. The owners sold it to someone else out from under him. And instead of going to court they paid him to walk away. So he tried to buy a house and earned $1 million. When the maids make your bed and tuck the sheets in too tight. I hate that shit. This is the type of problem I was hoping for and I had to scroll down 60 comments to find it. My boss was complaining the other day about having to clear all the junk out of his hangar to make room for his new plane, so I guess that? Being lonely F. Best friend's family growing up won $4. 5 mil on the lottery. While previously already owning 6 coffee franchises and doing decently. I remember his father making me and his son constantly sift through the mail. His mailbox was crammed to capacity almost every day with offers and donation requests. He actually did donate frequently, but that only prompted more requests. Unfortunately, both of his sons became heroin addicts, which was enabled by easy access to money. Protecting their assets. And they worry about their kids as much as less wealthy people do. People always trying to sue you. When your house staff keeps moving your shit around to where they think it should go and you've nicely asked not to, but they keep doing it and you don't want to make a big deal because that would make you a dick. Throwing away a birthday cake because the T wasn't crossed. I'm late. But have a specific one. I know a few people from extremely rich families. I see a terrible outcomes with third generation wealth. When dad is super successful, the kid doesn't have to do much but at least sees someone working. When that kid, who doesn't do shit, then had kids, his kids are completely unmoored from reality. It's a lonely dark existence when you are completely incompatible with society. I'd say this. https://www.reddit.com AskReddit comments /24vo34 what% 27's the happiest 5-word sentence you could hear %3fchb4v05 UTM medium equals Android app and UTM source equals share and context equals 3. Not me. But I had a friend in college who was heir to a substantial fortune. Like 9 zeros substantial. I took him out for lunch on his birthday. He said that was the first time anyone had ever done that. That's a rich person problem. People don't treat you like a human being. The gravity well of their wealth is something from which human emotions cannot often escape. People build mythologies. Talk about the Rothschilds as eating kids or how since they don't believe billionaires should exist it's not a crime to kill one. They forget the only rule of humanity, there but for the grace of God go I. And that's true for fortune as well as suffering. People resent you. Especially if you didn't earn it. Especially if you're young. It's actually pretty isolating. One of the unexpected problems was vacationing with friends. I work long, hard hours. So when I can take time off, I don't care the resort costs $1,000 night and I'm not flying 5 hours in coach. But with that attitude, it's going to price it way out of budget of most of my friends. So it becomes this odd decision between do I want a really nice vacation or to hang out with old friends.